The stars stopped moving. Commander Hyunwoo watched through the bridge windows as the Iron Phoenix dropped out of hyperspace. After 50 years, they were home. "We're back in the Sol system," said Lieutenant Ji-Hai from her station. Her voice was quiet, almost afraid. "Earth is different." Hyunwoo stepped closer to the main screen. What he saw made his heart sink. Earth was covered in metal structures. Giant space stations floated around the planet like metal moons. Ships he didn't recognize moved between them in steady lines. "Those aren't human ships," he said. Du Yun, their tactical officer, was already scanning the area. "Sir, I count 47 alien vessels in Earth orbit. They're all military class. And those stations, they're mining platforms." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth had been taken. Completely. Hyunwoo had commanded the Iron Phoenix for 30 years. Before that, he served under Captain Taemin during the war. He had seen many battles, lost many friends, but seeing Earth like this hurt more than any wound. "Any signs of human resistance?" he asked. Ji-Hai worked at her console. "I'm picking up some transmissions from the surface. They're using old human frequencies, but the signals are weak." "What about the orbital defenses?" Du Yun shook his head. "They have patrol routes, but they're lazy. The aliens fly the same patterns every day. They don't expect any threats." The Iron Phoenix drifted in the shadow of an asteroid belt. The ship had been their home for 5 decades. It was old, patched with metal from a dozen different alien ships they had fought, but it was still dangerous. Hyunwoo remembered the day they left. Earth was burning. The Coalition ships filled the sky like angry wasps. Captain Taemin had saved as many people as he could before the final escape. Hyunwoo was just a young officer then, scared and angry. "Sir," Ji-Hai said, "I'm getting a clearer signal from Earth. It's a resistance network. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was human. A woman, speaking in code words that Hyunwoo recognized from the old days. "Phoenix, this is Shadow Base. We see you up there. Welcome home." Hyunwoo took the communication device. "Shadow Base, this is Phoenix Actual. We're glad someone is still fighting." "We never stopped fighting, Phoenix. We've been waiting for you." So Young, their chief engineer, looked up from her station. "Commander, should I start preparing the ship for combat?" Hyunwoo nodded. "But carefully. We need to understand what we're facing first." The engineer was one of the youngest crew members when they left Earth. Now she was 45, with gray in her hair and scars on her hands from fixing the ship 1,000 times. She knew every bolt and wire on the Iron Phoenix. "Do-Yun, what can you tell me about their defenses?" The tactical officer studied his screens. "They have 3 types of ships. Big ones that stay near the stations, medium ones that patrol, and small fighters. The big ships are Vorth Empire design. The medium ones are Keth Collective. The fighters are mixed." Hyunwoo knew those names. The Vorth were lizard-like aliens who thought they were better than everyone else. The Keth were like giant insects that worked together like a hive. Both species had voted to destroy humanity 50 years ago. "Their weapons?" he asked. "Standard Coalition plasma cannons and missile systems. But, Commander, they're using old models. We've seen better in the Outer Rim." That was good news. The Iron Phoenix had fought Coalition ships for 50 years. They had learned to beat newer, better-armed vessels. Woo Jin, their communications officer, raised his hand. "Sir, I'm picking up more chatter. The resistance on Earth is bigger than we thought. They have people on every continent." "What are they saying?" "They're talking about a ship that came back from the dead. They're calling us the Ghost Ship. Hyun-woo almost smiled. The crew had heard that name before. Pirates and smugglers in the outer systems told stories about a human warship that appeared out of nowhere, struck coalition forces, and vanished. They said it was crewed by the ghosts of Earth's defenders. "Sir," Ji-hai said, "the Resistance wants to meet. They're sending coordinates for a safe zone. How safe can it be with 47 enemy ships in orbit? They say they know a way. Something. About old mining tunnels on the moon." Hyun-woo looked around the bridge. His crew was tired. They had been fighting for 50 years without a real home, without hope of seeing Earth again. Now they were here, but Earth was not the same. "So young? How long before we can be ready for combat?" "Give me 6 hours to check our weapons and engines. We took some damage in that last fight with the pirates." "Do it." "Do-yun, I want a full tactical analysis of their patrol patterns. Find me their weak spots." "Already working on it, sir." The hours passed slowly. The crew worked with quiet determination. They all knew this might be their last battle. The coalition had the numbers, the better position, and 50 years to prepare defenses. But the Iron Phoenix had something the coalition didn't understand. The crew had learned to fight like humans fight. They were unpredictable. They took risks that made no sense to alien minds. They refused to give up even when logic said they should. When the ship was ready, Hyun-woo called a meeting in the main conference room. The senior officers gathered around an old table that had been with them since the beginning. "We're going to make contact with the Resistance," he said. "But first, I want everyone to understand what we're seeing down there." He activated a hologram showing Earth. The planet looked sick. Brown scars covered the continents where forests used to be. The oceans were darker, full of mining platforms. "They're not just occupying Earth," he continued. "They're destroying it, turning it into raw materials for their empire." Ji-hai clenched her fists. "What about the people?" "Still there. Still fighting. That's what matters." Do-yun leaned forward. "Sir, I've found their weakness. The patrol ships follow exact schedules. They don't adapt or change routes. If we time it right, we can reach the moon without being detected." "Good. Woo-jin, send word to the Resistance. Tell them we're coming home." The communications officer smiled. It was the first real smile Hyun-woo had seen on the bridge in months. "Message. Sent, sir. They're responding. They say they have something to show us. Something that will change everything." Hyun-woo stood up. "Then let's go see what our people have been building while we were gone." The Iron Phoenix began moving toward Earth's moon. Behind them, the stars watched like old friends welcoming them home. Ahead, the enemy waited without knowing that humanity's exile was about to end. In fire. The moon's surface looked the same as always. Gray dust and ancient craters stretched to the horizon, but Hyun-woo knew that underneath, humans were hiding and planning. The Iron Phoenix landed in a crater that had been a mining site long ago. As the engines powered down, Hyun-woo thought about Captain Tae-min. His old commander would have been proud to see this moment. "Sir," Ji-hai said, "the Resistance is here." Through the airlock came 3 figures in old spacesuits. The leader removed her helmet, revealing a woman with short gray hair and determined eyes. "Commander Hyun-woo," she said. "I'm Hai-wan. We've been waiting for you." "How long have you been fighting down here?" 50 years. Ever since the day you left." She looked around the ship's cargo bay. "This place hasn't changed much." Hyun-woo was surprised. "You were here when we escaped?" "I was 12 years old. My parents put me on." The last shuttle before the Coalition ships came. I watched the Iron Phoenix disappear into hyperspace. I thought I'd never see her again. The memory hit Hyunwoo like a punch. He remembered that day. The screaming, the explosions, the children crying as they were loaded onto ships. Captain, Tae-min had made the hardest choice of his life. Your parents, he asked quietly, died in the bombardment, along with millions of others. Hae-won's voice was steady, but her eyes showed old pain. But they didn't die for nothing. The resistance they started never stopped growing. So Young stepped forward. What happened after we left? The real story? Hae-won gestured for them to follow her deeper into the tunnels. The walls were lined with metal and lights, clearly built over many years. The Coalition told the galaxy that humans were dangerous. They said we were violent and couldn't be trusted. They made us sound like monsters. We were defending ourselves, Do-yun said angrily. I know. But the Coalition had already decided what they wanted people to believe. They entered a large chamber, filled with equipment and supplies. Dozens of people worked at various tasks. All of them stopped to stare at the crew of the Iron Phoenix. They're real, someone whispered. The ghost ship is real. Hae-won smiled. You've become a legend out. Here, people tell stories about the human warship that never surrenders, never stops fighting. Woo Jin looked around the base. How many people are down here? In this base? About 200. But we have bases like this all over the moon, and on Mars, and hidden in the asteroid belt. The Coalition thinks they killed all human military forces 50 years ago. They're wrong. An older man approached them. He had the look of someone who had seen too much war. This is Min-ho, Hae-won said. He used to work for them. Min-ho nodded grimly. I was a translator for the Coalition government. I believed their lies about humans being savage. I helped them write propaganda for the first 10 years. What changed? Hyunwoo asked. I learned the truth. The Coalition wasn't just destroying human colonies. They were doing it to other species, too. Any race that refused to bow down was labeled primitive or dangerous and wiped out. The room fell silent. This was what Captain Tae-min had tried to tell the galaxy. This was why humanity had been marked for destruction. How many species? Ji-hai asked. At least 40 that I know of. The Coalition calls it Galactic Peace. They say they're bringing order to chaos. But really, they're just scared of anyone who might challenge their power. So Young clenched her fists. We tried to warn people. Nobody listened. Some did, Min-ho said. But they were too afraid to speak up. The Coalition's propaganda machine is very good at making people believe what they want them to believe. Hae-won led them to a communications center. Show them what we've been working on, she told the operator. The screens lit up with star maps and communication logs. We've been in contact with resistance groups all over the galaxy, the operator explained. Survivors from destroyed worlds, enslaved populations, even some Coalition species who are tired of their government's lies. They're all waiting for a signal, Hae-won said. Proof that the Coalition can be beaten. Hyunwoo studied the maps. Red dots marked Coalition strongholds. Green dots showed resistance cells. There were more green dots than he expected. What about Earth itself? He asked. Underground cities in every major region. Hidden factories. Producing weapons and equipment. We've been preparing for this day since the invasion began. Min-ho pulled up another display. The Coalition thinks humans are cattle now, Workers who mine resources and build their ships. They don't know that half their workers are saboteurs. We've been slowing down their production for decades, HFY added. Making their equipment fail at the worst moments. They blame it on human incompetence. Du Yun smiled grimly. Let them keep thinking that. There's something else, Minho said. He looked uncomfortable. The Coalition has been studying humans, trying to understand what they call the human madness. What do they mean? Your willingness to fight impossible battles. Your refusal to surrender even when logic says you should. They've been running experiments, trying to figure out how to break that spirit. The crew of the Iron Phoenix exchanged looks. They all knew that spirit. It was what had kept them fighting for 50 years against overwhelming odds. Have they succeeded? Hyunwoo asked. Haiwan's smile was sharp and cold. What do you think? We're still here, aren't we? An alarm sounded softly. One of the operators looked up. Coalition patrol passing overhead, right on schedule. They're very predictable, Minho explained. 50 years of no real resistance has made them lazy. That's about to change, Hyunwoo said. Haewon nodded. We have weapons hidden all over the system. Ships disguised as cargo haulers, fighters hidden in asteroid bases. When you're ready to begin, we can field a real fleet. How long to coordinate with all the resistance cells? Give us 72 hours. We'll spread the word that the ghost ship has returned. That humanity is ready to remind the galaxy what freedom looks like. So Young looked at the technical displays. Your equipment is impressive. How did you build all this without being detected? Very carefully, Minho said, and with help from some unexpected allies. Not all alien species support the Coalition. Some have been secretly helping us for years. They remember what the Coalition did to their own people, Haewon added. They know they could be next if they step out of line. Hyunwoo made his decision. 72 hours. Then we start taking back our home. As they prepared to return to the Iron Phoenix, Haewon grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. Commander, there's something you should know. Captain Taemin, his sacrifice wasn't in vain. The people he saved that day became the core of our resistance. Every victory we've won, every life we've saved, started with his choice to get you and this ship away safely. Hyunwoo felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For 50 years he had wondered if running was the right choice. Now he knew. The ghosts of war were about to become very real for the Coalition. 3 days later, the Iron Phoenix moved through the asteroid belt like a ghost. Hyunwoo watched as hidden bases revealed themselves one by one. Each base showed him how wrong the Coalition had been about humanity. Sir, Jihai reported, we're approaching the main coordination center. It's inside asteroid Charlie 7. The asteroid looked normal from outside, just another piece of space rock drifting in the belt. But as they got closer, Hyunwoo saw the hidden doors opening. Inside was a space large enough for dozens of ships. Welcome to Freedom Station, Haewon said over the radio. The heart of human resistance. The station was amazing. Corridors had been carved through solid rock and lined with metal. Living areas, workshops, command centers, and weapon storage filled every available space. Thousands of people lived and worked here. How long did this take to build? So Young asked as they toured the facility. 40 years, replied Bong-Soo, the station commander. He was a big man with workers' hands and sharp eyes. We started with mining equipment and basic tools. Every year we got a little better, a little bigger. The main command center was impressive. Screens showed the locations of resistance cells throughout the galaxy. Red lights marked coalition strongholds. Green lights showed friendly forces. Blue lights marked neutral systems that might help. "Show him the network," Heywan said. Bongsu activated a display that made Hyunwoo's eyes widen. Lines connected hundreds of systems across space. "This is our communication network. Every human settlement, every resistance cell, every sympathetic alien group. They're all connected. The Coalition thinks they destroyed human civilization," added Yu Jin, the station's chief medical officer. "They don't know we rebuilt it better than before." Do Yun studied the tactical displays. "What about military assets?" "Hidden throughout the system," Bongsu said. "We have 43 armed ships disguised as civilian vessels, another 60 fighters stored in asteroid bases, plus ground forces on every human world. Ground forces, mining crews who know how to use explosives, factory workers who sabotage production lines, transport pilots who can fly combat missions. The Coalition trained our people to be useful. They didn't realize they were training an army." J-Ho, the Iron Phoenix's best pilot, looked at the ship specifications. "These fighters, they're modified Coalition designs. We've been stealing their technology for decades," explained Chang Min, the head engineer. "Every time they bring a ship in for repair, we learn something new. Every piece of equipment they throw away, we salvage and study. We know their systems better than they do," Yujin added with pride. Hyunwoo was impressed, but he had to ask the hard question. "What about losses? 50 years is a long time to keep a secret this big." The command center became quiet. Heywan answered carefully. "We've lost people. Good people. Brave people. The Coalition executes anyone they catch with resistance connections. But for every person we lose, 10 more join us," Bongsu said firmly. "They can't kill the idea of freedom." Wu Jin was monitoring the communication systems. "Sir, I'm getting reports from other systems. The news that we're back is spreading fast." "What kind of reports?" "Sabotage operations increasing on Coalition worlds, work slowdowns in the factories, transport accidents that happen to hurt Coalition forces, small attacks on isolated outposts." "The network is activating," Haiwan explained. "Every cell knows that the time for hiding is over." A new person entered the command center. She was young, maybe 25, with the confident look of someone who had never known fear. "This is Na Yun," Heywan said. "She commands our fighter squadrons. Na Yun," saluted Hyunwoo. "Sir, my pilots are ready for combat. We've been training for this our whole lives." "Training where?" "Hidden simulator chambers throughout the system. We've run thousands of combat scenarios based on Coalition ship designs and tactics." J-Ho was interested. "What's your assessment of their capabilities?" "They're good at following orders and maintaining formations," Nayan replied, "but they're terrible at adapting to unexpected situations. Their training makes them predictable." "That's their biggest weakness," agreed Bongsu. 50 years of easy victories has made them soft. They expect enemies to fight the way they fight. "We don't fight that way," Hyunwoo said with satisfaction. "No, sir, we don't." The tour continued through the station. Hyunwoo saw workshops where workers built weapons from scavenged materials, training areas where people practiced combat techniques, medical facilities treating refugees from Coalition labor camps. The Coalition thinks Earth produces raw materials, Yujin explained as they passed a manufacturing area. "They don't know that 20% of what we send them are weapons and equipment for resistance cells. Hidden inside legitimate shipments," added Chang Min. A weapons cache looks like mining equipment. A communication device looks like a repair tool. So Young examined some of the equipment. This is good work. Better than some military suppliers I've seen. Necessity makes good teachers, Bong Su said. They reached a section marked Intelligence Center. Inside, dozens of people monitored coalition communications and analyzed enemy movements. This is Kyung Ho, Haiwan said, introducing a middle-aged, man with tired eyes. He runs our intelligence operations. We know more about coalition forces than their own commanders do, Kyung Ho said. We have people inside their administration, their military, even their intelligence services. How? Du Yun asked. Humans make good servants, Kyung Ho said with a bitter smile. The coalition likes having us around to do their dirty work. They never suspect that their translators, mechanics, and clerks might be listening to everything they say. What do we know about their current strength? The main fleet has gotten smaller over the years. They've moved ships to other systems to deal with pirate problems and unrest. They don't realize those pirates and rebels are often us. A communication came in from one of the monitoring stations. Sir, Coalition Patrol 77 Alpha is reporting mechanical problems. They're requesting repair services. Kyung Ho smiled. That's the third mechanical problem this week. Our people in the repair yards are getting creative. How long before they realize what's happening? Hyunwoo asked. They're starting to suspect something, but they think it's just human incompetence and inferior equipment. They don't want to admit that their slaves might be outsmarting them. The Intelligence Center had detailed information about every coalition ship, base, and commander in the system. Personal files, tactical assessments, psychological profiles, everything needed to plan effective attacks. This is incredible work, Hyunwoo admitted. It's what happens when you give smart people 50 years and a very good reason to learn. Everything about their enemies, Haewon said. As the tour ended, Bong Su brought them to a large viewing window that looked out at space. In the distance, Earth was visible as a small blue dot. Every person in this station lost family or friends to the coalition, he said quietly. We've spent our whole lives preparing for the day when we could fight back properly. Today is that day, Hyunwoo replied. Sir, Woo Jin reported. I'm getting confirmation signals from resistance cells in 47 systems. They're all ready to begin coordinated operations. What about the alien species that have been helping us? Ji-hai asked. The Moral are ready to provide supplies and safe harbor, Kyung Ho said. The Reth have promised to share intelligence. Even some Vorth and Keth individuals have offered to help, though they have to be very careful. Not all aliens support the coalition, Haewon explained. Some remember what freedom was like before the coalition took over. Hyunwoo made his decision. Signal all units. Operation begins in 24 hours. It's time to remind the galaxy that humanity never surrendered. We just went underground and got stronger, Bong Su added. As the crew of the Iron Phoenix prepared to return to their ship, Na Yun approached Hyunwoo. Sir, there's something else you should know. We've been calling this Operation Phoenix Rising, because that's what we are. We died 50 years ago, but we never stopped burning. Hyunwoo looked around at the faces surrounding him. Young and old, all of them determined, all of them ready to fight for their freedom. The underground was about to become very visible. The first strike happened at exactly 0800 Coalition Standard Time. Across 17 star systems, resistance cells launched simultaneous attacks on Coalition facilities. The war had begun again. Hyunwoo watched the reports come in from the bridge of the Iron Phoenix. Each successful mission was marked with green on the tactical display. So far, everything was green. Mining Station Alpha 4 destroyed, Wu Jin reported. Weapons depot at Beta Prime captured. Transport convoy Delta 7 reported missing with all cargo. That's the medical supplies convoy, Wu Jin said with satisfaction. Those supplies will save a lot of lives in the resistance camps. Du Yun monitored coalition communication channels. They're confused, sir. Local commanders are asking headquarters for instructions, but headquarters doesn't know what's happening either. The coalition had not faced a real military threat in decades. Their response was slow and clumsy. Sir, Jihai said, incoming transmission from Centauri base. The face that appeared on screen was weathered and scarred. Bong Su had told them about this man, a mining foreman who had been secretly building resistance forces for 30 years. Phoenix Actual. This is Dong Hyun at Centauri. Operation Sledgehammer is complete. The orbital platform is ours. Casualties? Hyun Woo asked. 12 wounded, none killed. The coalition guards surrendered when they realized they were outnumbered 50-1. Hyun Woo smiled. Good work, Centauri. What's the status of the workers? Free and armed, sir. We've got 3,000 people ready to fight, plus their families to protect. Requesting permission to begin Phase 2. Granted. Hit the communication array next. Understood. Centauri out. The Centauri mining colony had been a coalition stronghold for 40 years. Now it was free, and the rebellion was spreading to nearby systems. Another report coming in, Wu Jin announced. This one from the Titan Research Facility. Yeon-Su's face appeared on screen. She was young, but her eyes showed the hardness of someone who had seen too much. Phoenix, this is Titan Base. We've secured the research facility and you need to see what we found here. What kind of research were they doing? Biological. Weapons. Designed specifically to target human genetics. They were planning to wipe out the entire species without damaging the infrastructure. The bridge fell silent. Even after 50 years, the coalition's hatred for humanity was shocking. How close were they to deployment? Wu Jin asked. According to their files, about 6 months. They were planning to release it on Earth first, then spread it to all human settlements. Destroy everything, Hyun Woo ordered. Make sure nothing survives. Already done, sir. But we saved their research files as evidence. The galaxy needs to know what the coalition really is. More reports kept coming. The Resistance had captured weapons factories, communication centers, and supply depots throughout coalition space. But more importantly, they were freeing alien workers who had been enslaved alongside humans. Sir, Kyung-ho's voice came over the radio. We're getting confirmation from non-human resistance groups. The Moral underwater cities have declared independence. The Reth mountain clans are attacking coalition mining operations. Even some Vorth colony worlds are joining the rebellion. They were waiting for someone to show them it was possible, Haewon added from her position at Freedom Station. Du Yun was monitoring enemy responses. Coalition fleet movements in the outer systems. They're pulling ships back from patrol duties to protect their main bases. That leaves their supply lines vulnerable, Hyun Woo noted. Gun Woo's teams are already moving on them, Jihai reported. Convoy after convoy is disappearing. Gun Woo was a former prisoner who had escaped from a coalition labor camp. He knew their transport routes better than anyone, and he had very personal reasons for wanting to hurt them. Phoenix, this is Gun Woo, came a transmission. Package delivery complete. Coalition Supply Convoy Tango 7 is now under new management. What was in the convoy? Weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and about 200 alien slaves. They were moving to a new camp. The slaves are now free fighters. Hyunwoo was pleased. Well done! What's your next target? The prison ship Crusher. It's carrying about 5,000 political prisoners from a dozen different species. I have a personal interest in that one. Take whatever support you need. Nobody stays in coalition prisons today. As the day continued, the scope of the rebellion became clear. This wasn't just a human uprising. Species across the galaxy were rising against their oppressors, inspired by news that the humans had returned to fight. Sir, Wu Jin said, I'm picking up an interesting transmission. It's from Admiral Vorth Kess, the Coalition Fleet Commander. Put it through. The reptilian face that appeared on screen was angry and confused. All Coalition forces, this is Admiral Vorth Kess. We are facing coordinated terrorist attacks across multiple systems. These attacks appear to be led by human criminals who should have been destroyed 50 years ago. He still doesn't understand, So Young said with contempt. The transmission continued. All commands are ordered to increase security and begin immediate questioning of human workers. Any human found with suspicious materials or communications is to be executed immediately. That's a mistake, Yujin observed. Executing random people will just make more rebels. She was right. Within hours, reports came in of spontaneous uprisings on worlds where coalition forces had started killing civilians. Workers who had been cooperating with the occupation suddenly became fighters. The coalition is doing our recruiting for us, Haewon said with dark humor. Another transmission came in, this one from a coalition base that was under attack. Mayday, Mayday. This is Garrison 7-7. We are under assault by unknown forces. They appeared out of nowhere and... Wait, those are human ships. How is that possible? The transmission cut to static. That was not Yoon's squadron, Jae-ho said with pride. Right on schedule. Sir, Do-yun reported. Coalition forces are requesting reinforcements from their home systems. They're starting to realize this is bigger than they thought. How long before those reinforcements arrive? At least 2 weeks, assuming they can spare the ships. We'll be ready for them. CO Jun, who had been quiet during most of the day, finally spoke up. Sir, I'm receiving communication requests from several neutral species. They want to know what our intentions are. Tell them the truth. We're fighting for freedom. Not just human freedom. Freedom for everyone who wants it. They're asking about terms for coalition species who want to surrender. Hyunwoo thought about this. Anyone who lays down their weapons and stops supporting the oppression will be treated fairly, but war criminals will face justice. What about their leaders? The galaxy will decide their fate when this is over. The first day of... The new war ended with stunning success. Resistance forces had captured or destroyed dozens of coalition facilities. Thousands of prisoners had been freed. Supply lines were disrupted. Most importantly, the myth of coalition invincibility was broken. Status report, Hyunwoo requested as the night shift took over. 17 systems now have active rebellion, Kyung-ho reported. Coalition forces are pulling back to defend their most important bases. Enemy morale is low and getting worse. Our losses? Minimal. The coalition wasn't prepared for this kind of coordinated attack. What about civilian casualties? Lower than expected. Most coalition personnel surrendered when they realized they were outnumbered. Some even asked to join the rebellion. Hyunwoo looked at the star map. Green lights now covered systems that had been red just 24 hours ago. The awakening had begun. Tomorrow we start Phase 2, he announced. It's time to take back Earth. Throughout Coalition space, beings who had lived under oppression for decades were learning that resistance was possible. The humans had shown them the way. The galaxy was waking up. The Iron Phoenix emerged from hyperspace like an angry comet. Around her flew 37 other ships, resistance vessels that had been hidden for decades, now flying openly for the first time since the war began. All ships, this is Phoenix. Actual, Hyunwoo broadcast. Target is the Coalition supply depot at Kepler Station. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. Copy that, Phoenix, came the reply from Dong-hyun, now commanding the captured Coalition destroyer Freedom's Edge. My crew is ready. Kepler Station was huge. It supplied Coalition forces in 6 star systems and was defended by 20 warships. The old Hyunwoo might have thought twice about attacking such a target, but 50 years of guerrilla warfare had taught him that big targets often had big weaknesses. Do-yun, what do you see? Defensive formation is exactly what we expected, the tactical officer reported. Heavy ships in close orbit, patrol craft in outer perimeter, fighters standing by in the hangar bays. Just like the manual says, Jae-ho added with contempt. No imagination! Yeonsu, are your infiltration teams in position? Affirmative, sir, came the reply from the intelligence specialist. We've had people working on that station for 3 years. The main power grid will go down in 10 minutes. Hyunwoo smiled. This was how humans fought, not with bigger guns or stronger shields, but with patience, planning, and the willingness to take risks that others thought were insane. All ships begin approach. Remember the plan. The human fleet moved toward Kepler Station in what looked like a standard attack. Formation. The Coalition defenders saw exactly what they expected to see. Inferior ships making a desperate assault that would fail within minutes. They were wrong. Enemy ships powering weapons, Do-yun reported. They're coming out to meet us. Perfect. Na-yeon, your fighters are clear to launch. 20 small ships shot out from hidden positions throughout the human fleet. But these weren't standard fighters. Chang-min had rebuilt them with Coalition technology, making them faster and more heavily armed than anything the enemy expected. Phoenix, this is Shadow Squadron. Na-eun's voice crackled over the radio. We see the welcoming committee. Permission to show them some manners. Granted. Light them up. The Coalition had deployed their fighters in tight formations. Ready to sweep the human attackers from space, they flew straight into Na-eun's trap. Break and attack, she ordered. The human fighters scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that made no sense to Coalition tactics. Instead of engaging in formation combat, they darted between enemy ships like angry wasps, striking weak points and disappearing before return fire could find them. What are they doing? One Coalition pilot transmitted. They're not following any recognizable attack pattern. That's the point, Na-eun said, as her fighter destroyed its third enemy. Meanwhile, the main fleet engaged the Coalition warships. But instead of trading shots like civilized enemies, the humans did something unexpected. All ships, execute ramming speed, Hyunwoo ordered. Sir? Ji-hai looked confused. Not actual ramming. Make them think we're about to ram their ships, then break off at the last second. The human ships accelerated directly toward the Coalition line. To the enemy commanders, it looked like a suicide attack. They had 2 choices, break formation to avoid collision or stand firm and risk being rammed. They chose to break formation. Now, Hyunwoo shouted. The human ships pulled sharp turns that would have been impossible in standard formations. Instead of ramming, they slipped through the gaps in the enemy line and attacked from behind. Station power grid is down, Yeonsu reported. Hangar doors are sealed. They can't launch more fighters. Excellent. Gunwoo, your transports are clear to begin boarding operations. On our way, Phoenix. Time to liberate some prisoners. 6 modified cargo ships broke away from the main battle and headed for the station's docking bays. They carried 300 fighters who had been waiting their whole lives for this moment. The Coalition tried to stop them, but their remaining ships were too busy dealing with the chaos the main human fleet had created. This is Gunwoo. We're docked and moving in. Resistance is light. Most of the station guards are trying to restore power. Copy that. Complete your mission and get out. The battle in space continued, but it was clear the Coalition was losing. Their rigid tactics couldn't cope with the human style of warfare. Every time they tried to establish a defensive line, the humans would do something unexpected and break it. "Sir," Wu Jin reported, "I'm getting transmissions from other Coalition bases. They're requesting immediate reinforcements." "What kind of transmissions?" "Panic, mostly. Reports of attacks on supply convoys, communication centers going offline, prison camps being liberated. They think we have hundreds of ships." "How many do we actually have?" "Counting all the hidden reserves and captured vessels, maybe 200 active warships." "And they think we have more?" "Much more. Our hit-and-run tactics make them think they're facing a huge fleet that can be everywhere at once." Du Yun looked up from his console. "Sir, the enemy commander is requesting a parley." "Put him through." The reptilian face that appeared on screen was Admiral Kesvar, commander of Kepler Station's defenses. He looked angry and desperate. "Human ship, I demand you cease this unprovoked attack immediately." "Admiral," Yun-Woo replied calmly, "this attack is very much provoked. 50 years of slavery and genocide tend to provoke people. You are violating galactic law." "Which law would that be? The one that says humans don't deserve to exist?" The Admiral's scales flushed darker, a sign of extreme anger in his species. "The Coalition maintains order in this galaxy. Without us, there would be chaos. Without you, there would be freedom." "This is Gunwoo," came an interruption. "Station is secure. We've freed 8,000 prisoners of 12 different species. We also found something interesting in the Admiral's files." "What kind of something?" "Plans for concentration camps. They were going to round up every non-Coalition species in this sector and work them to death." Hyun-Woo looked back at Admiral Kesvar. "Still think you're maintaining order?" The Admiral's image flickered and disappeared. Seconds later, explosions began lighting up the station as the Coalition forces tried to destroy evidence. "All ships, pull back," Hyun-Woo ordered. "Let them destroy their own base. We got what we came for." The human fleet withdrew as Kepler Station tore itself apart. Thousands of tons of supplies went up in flames, but thousands of lives had been saved. "Phoenix, this is Centauri Base," came Dong-Hyun's voice. "We're seeing the fireworks from here. Beautiful work." "Thank you, Centauri. What's your status?" 3 more systems have declared independence since this morning. Coalition forces are retreating to their core worlds. Any word from Earth? Haewon reports the resistance is ready for the next phase. They're just waiting for your signal. Hyun-Woo looked at the tactical display. Red lights marked Coalition strongholds throughout the galaxy. But many of those lights were fading as resistance forces captured or destroyed them. "Sir," So Young said, "the ship took some damage in that last engagement. Nothing serious, but we should probably dock for repairs." "How long?" 6 hours should do it. Make it 4. We have a schedule to keep." As the Iron Phoenix headed for a hidden repair station, Hyun-Woo reflected on how much had changed. 3 weeks ago, the Coalition had controlled hundreds of systems with thousands of ships. Now they were pulling back, trying to defend their most important bases. "Sir," Yu Jin said, "I'm getting reports from our medical teams. The prisoners we freed from Kepler Station are in bad shape, but they'll recover. Some of them want to join the fight. Anyone who can fight is welcome. Anyone who can't should be taken somewhere safe. The Moral have offered sanctuary on their ocean worlds. They say it's the least they can do after humans showed them how to resist. The fire in the void was spreading. Every victory inspired more rebellions. Every liberated world became a base for further operations. The Coalition's empire was crumbling from within. Signal all resistance cells, Hyun-woo ordered. Phase 3 begins tomorrow. It's time to go home. In the depths of space, 37 human ships prepared for the final phase of their 50-year war. Behind them, the galaxy was awakening to the possibility of freedom. Ahead lay Earth. And the reckoning, that had been 50 years in the making. Admiral Vorth Kess slammed his clawed fist on the table, making the other Coalition commanders flinch. The emergency meeting had been going on for hours, and nothing good had come from it. 67 systems in open rebellion, he roared. Supply! Lines cut, bases destroyed, entire fleets missing. How did this happen? Hive Mind Keth Prime spoke in the buzzing voice of her species. Your intelligence services failed to detect the human buildup. This is a Vorth failure. My intelligence. Services? Vorth Kess turned his angry yellow eyes on the insectoid leader. Your Keth workers built most of those bases. They should have noticed the sabotage. Keth workers follow Keth instructions. If Vorth overseers are incompetent, Keth cannot compensate. The two most powerful Coalition leaders glared at each other across the table. 50 years of partnership was crumbling under the pressure of human resistance. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Iron Phoenix, Seo Jun monitored Coalition communications with satisfaction. Sir, they're starting to blame each other for the security failures, he reported to Hyun-woo. The Vorth think the Keth are incompetent. The Keth think the Vorth are arrogant. Good. A divided enemy is a weak enemy. What about the other Coalition? Species? The Moral have officially withdrawn from the Coalition Council. They're declaring their underwater cities as neutral territory. The Reth Mountain clans are doing the same. And the others? Some are staying quiet, trying not to pick sides. A few minor species are actually asking for asylum. Du Yun looked up from his tactical console. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from one of the Coalition patrol fleets. They're requesting permission to surrender. Put them through. The face that appeared on screen was neither Vorth nor Keth. It belonged to Commander Yithka of the amphibian Delth species. His large eyes showed fear and uncertainty. Human ship, this is Commander Yithka of the Coalition patrol vessel Swift. Current. I wish to discuss terms of surrender for my task force. Commander, Hyun-woo replied carefully, what changed your mind? I have seen the evidence your people broadcast about Coalition policies. The camps, the experiments, the planned genocides. My species joined the Coalition because we thought it meant peace. We did not know the price of that peace. What about your crew? 40% Delth, 30% minor species who were forced to serve, 30% Vorth and Keth who still believe in Coalition propaganda. The believers are currently locked in their quarters. Hyun-woo exchanged glances with his officers. This was the first major defection from Coalition military forces. Commander, are you speaking only for your ship or for other Delth forces? I speak for the entire 3rd Patrol Fleet, 27 ships. We formally request permission to join the Liberation Forces. Granted. Report to coordinates I'm sending you now. You'll be given new orders and integrated into our command structure. Thank you, and I apologize for what my people allowed to happen. We should have acted sooner. As the transmission ended, excitement spread through the bridge. If an entire patrol fleet was defecting, how many other coalition forces might be ready to switch sides? "Sir," Wu Jin said, "I'm getting similar transmissions from coalition units in 6 other systems. Word is spreading fast." "What's the reaction from Coalition High Command?" "Panic! They're issuing orders to execute any personnel who show signs of disloyalty. They're also pulling their most reliable units back to protect their core worlds." The Coalition was making the same mistake that had cost them the initiative weeks ago, responding to pressure with more oppression instead of addressing the real problems. "Signal all our forces," Hyunwoo ordered. "Begin Operation Fracture. It's time to break them completely." Operation Fracture was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of attacking coalition military targets, human forces would target the bonds that held the coalition together. Propaganda broadcasts would tell the truth about coalition policies. Safe passage would be offered to any unit that wanted to defect. Most importantly, coalition species would be shown that they had a choice. "This is Chang Min in Sector 7, came a report. "We've intercepted a coalition supply convoy, but here's the interesting part. The escort ships didn't fight. They just asked us to take the supplies and let them go home." "Any casualties?" "None. The convoy commander said his crew was tired of fighting for a cause they no longer believed in." Similar reports came in throughout the day. Coalition forces were surrendering or simply abandoning their posts. The military machine that had dominated the galaxy for centuries was falling apart from within. "Sir," Nayun reported from her fighter squadron, "I'm seeing something interesting here at the Rigel shipyards. Keth workers are sabotaging their own ships." "Explain." "They're installing defective components, weakening hull plating, programming navigation errors into the computer systems. The ships look normal, but they're death traps." "Why would they do that?" "I think they're tired of building ships that enslave their own people." Haewon's voice came over the long-range communicator. "Phoenix, this is Freedom Station. We're seeing massive defections from coalition civilian government. Entire planetary administrations are declaring independence." "What about military resistance?" "Minimal. Most coalition forces are either defecting or retreating to the core worlds. Some are even asking for protection from their own security services." The fragmentation was happening faster than anyone had expected. The coalition had been held together by fear and propaganda for so long that when those bonds broke, the whole structure collapsed at once. "Sir," Kyung-ho reported from the intelligence center, "I'm monitoring Coalition Command communications. They're having a major argument about whether to negotiate or fight to the end." "What are the sides?" "Admiral Vorth Kess wants to fight. He's calling for total war against all rebel species. Hivemind Keth Prime wants to negotiate. She thinks they can salvage something if they give up the outer systems." "And the other coalition leaders?" "Most of them just want to survive. They're more afraid of their own security forces than they are of us." That was good news. A terrified enemy makes bad decisions. "Sir," Eugene called from the medical bay, "I have a report from our prisoner rehabilitation centers. About 60% of former coalition personnel want to join the liberation forces. The rest just want to go home." "What about war crimes investigations?" "We're documenting everything, but frankly, most of the real war criminals are in the coalition leadership. The ordinary soldiers were just following orders they thought were legal." Seojun looked up from his diplomatic console. "Sir, I'm receiving formal requests for alliance from 14 different species. They want protection from coalition retaliation and help rebuilding their governments." "What kind of protection are they asking for?" "Mostly just a promise that we won't abandon them if the coalition tries to reconquer their worlds. Tell them they have it. Anyone who stands against oppression will have our support. The day continued with a stream of good news. Coalition fleets were dissolving as crews mutinied or simply went home. Civilian governments were declaring independence faster than coalition forces could respond. Most importantly, the galaxy was learning that resistance was possible. "This is Gunwoo calling from the Perseus sector," came another report. "The Coalition concentration camp at Sigma Base has been liberated, but you're not going to believe what we found in the commanders." "Files! What did you find?" "Plans for something called the Final Solution Protocol. They were going to exterminate every non-coalition species in the galaxy, starting with humans." The bridge fell silent. Even after everything they had seen, the scope of coalition evil was shocking. How close were they to implementing it? According to these files, they were planning to begin next month. We got here just in time. Hyunwoo felt a cold anger settle in his chest. The coalition hadn't just been oppressing people, they had been planning genocide on a galactic scale. "Signal all units," he said quietly. "Change of plans. We're not just liberating worlds anymore. We're hunting war criminals." As night fell over the fleet, reports continued to pour in. The coalition was fragmenting faster than anyone had thought possible. But with that fragmentation came a new danger. Desperate people with powerful weapons might do anything to avoid justice. "Sir," Do-Yun said, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from coalition core worlds. They might be preparing some kind of super weapon. Or they might be preparing to destroy evidence," Haewon suggested over the radio. "Either way, we need to move fast," Hyunwoo decided. "Signal all forces. We advance on Earth tomorrow." The coalition was breaking apart, but the war was far from over. The most dangerous enemy was often the one with nothing left to lose. Earth filled the view screen of the Iron Phoenix like a wounded jewel. The brown scars on the continents showed where the coalition had strip-mined the land. The dark patches in the oceans marked where their factories had poisoned the water. But it was still home. "All ships, this is Admiral Kyung-ho," came the voice of the resistance leader who now commanded the Liberation Fleet. "Final approach to Earth space. Remember, there are millions of our people down there. Keep the collateral damage to minimum." Hyunwoo watched the tactical display as nearly 300 ships moved toward Earth. Human vessels, defected coalition. Ships and allied alien craft all flying together toward humanity's homeworld. "Enemy fleet composition?" he asked Do-Yun. 47 coalition warships still in Earth orbit," the tactical officer reported. "But sir, something's wrong. They're not moving to intercept us." "Explain." "They're holding position around the orbital platforms. Defensive formation, but they're not launching fighters or powering weapons. That was suspicious. Admiral Vorth-Kess was many things, but he wasn't a coward. There had to be a reason he wasn't attacking." "Sir," Woo Jin said urgently, "I'm receiving a transmission from Admiral Vorth-Kess. He wants to speak with you directly." "Put him through." The reptilian admiral appeared on screen. His scales were darker than usual, and his eyes showed a mixture of anger and desperation. "Commander Hyunwoo of the terrorist vessel Iron Phoenix," he began. "Admiral Hyunwoo of the Liberation Fleet," Hyunwoo corrected. "What do you want, Vorth-Kess?" "I want to make you an offer. Withdraw your fleet and I will spare the human population of Earth. And if we don't withdraw?" The Admiral's smile was cold and cruel. "Then I will activate the orbital bombardment platforms. Every major human city will be destroyed within minutes." The bridge of the Iron Phoenix became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Vorth was holding Earth's population. "Hostage! You're bluffing," Yunwu said. "Earth is too valuable to destroy. Earth's resources are valuable. Earth's population is expendable. The coalition has decided that if we cannot have obedient slaves, we will have no slaves at all." Do Yun was scanning the orbital platforms. "Sir, he's not bluffing. Those platforms have enough firepower to sterilize the planet's surface." "How long would it take?" 6 minutes to target all major population centers, maybe 10 minutes to hit the smaller cities. Hyunwoo felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Every choice he made now would affect millions of lives. "Vorth, you realize this won't save the coalition. Even if you destroy Earth, we'll still come for you." "Perhaps. But Earth was always the symbol of human resistance. Without it, your rebellion will collapse." "You're wrong," said a new voice on the communication channel. It was Hai Wan speaking from the surface. "Earth isn't the symbol of human resistance. Earth is just where it started." "Ah, the terrorist leader speaks," Vorth said with mock politeness. "Have you called to surrender?" "I called to tell you that your threat is meaningless. We have 6 billion people down here, and we vote to fight." Yunwoo felt a surge of pride. Even with death hanging over them, his people chose freedom. "You're condemning your entire species," Vorth warned. "No," Haewon replied. "We're saving it. Hyunwoo, you have our permission to begin the attack." "Wait," Hyunwoo said. He had an idea. "Vorth, I have a counteroffer." "I'm listening." "Single combat. You and me. If I win, your forces surrender and Earth goes free. If you win, we withdraw and you can keep your dying empire for a few more years." The Admiral laughed. "You think I'm stupid enough to risk everything on single combat? I think you're arrogant enough. Besides, what do you have to lose? Your empire is already falling apart." There was a long pause. When Vorth spoke again, his voice was quieter. "What are the terms?" "Personal combat. No weapons, no armor. Just us. The winner takes all. And if I refuse, then we attack anyway. You can destroy Earth, but you'll die knowing that you lost everything." Another pause. Hyunwoo could almost hear the Admiral's mind working. Vorth was proud, and pride could be used against him. "Very well," the Admiral said finally, "but we fight on neutral ground. The old space station between Earth and the Moon." "Agreed. 1 hour." As the transmission ended, Ji-Hai looked at Yunwoo with concern. "Sir, are you sure about this? Vorth is larger and stronger than any human?" "Maybe. But he's been sitting in command chairs for 50 years. I've been fighting." So Young was already preparing a shuttle. "Sir, I'm installing some modifications that might help." "No tricks," Hyunwoo said firmly. "This has to be fair, or it won't work." "Sir," Na-un called from her fighter escort, "we'll be standing by just in case. If something goes wrong, complete the mission. Don't let them destroy Earth for nothing." The space station was old and abandoned. It had been a human research facility before the invasion. Now it was just a hollow shell drifting in space, perfect for what they needed. Hyunwoo entered the station's main cargo bay alone. Across from him, Admiral Vorth stepped through the opposite airlock. The reptilian was indeed larger and stronger, with claws that could tear through metal and scales that could turn aside blades. "Any last words, human?" Vorth asked. "Yes. This is for Captain Taemin and everyone else you murdered." The fight was brutal and quick. Vorth relied on strength and reach, trying to grab Hyunwoo with his claws. But 50 years of space Combat had taught Hyunwoo to be fast and unpredictable. He darted between the Admiral's attacks, striking at weak points in the reptilian's anatomy. Vorthkes was strong, but he was also old and slow. The end came when Hyunwoo managed to get behind the Admiral and apply a chokehold that cut off blood flow to the brain. Vorthkes struggled for a few seconds, then collapsed. Phoenix to all. Coalition forces, Hyunwoo broadcast. Your Admiral is defeated. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. The response was immediate. Coalition ships began powering down weapons and requesting surrender terms. Without their leader, the remaining forces had no will to fight. "This is Hyojin aboard the Coalition destroyer Righteous," came one transmission. "We formally surrender and request permission to join the Liberation Forces." "Permission granted," Admiral Kyung-ho responded. "Welcome to the free galaxy." But the victory wasn't complete yet. The orbital bombardment platforms were still active, and they were controlled by automated systems that didn't care about surrenders. Chang Min, "Can you disable those platforms?" Hyunwoo asked over the radio. "Working on it, sir. The control systems are heavily encrypted, but I think I can break them given enough time." "How much time?" 20 minutes, maybe 30. That was too long. The platforms might have dead man switches that would activate if they detected tampering. "Sir," Gunwoo called from his boarding ship, "I have an idea. What if we just cut the power cables?" "The platforms have backup power." "Not if we cut those too." It was dangerous, but it might work. Gunwoo's team had experience with Coalition technology, and they were good at improvising. "Do it," Hyunwoo ordered. "All teams, support." Gunwoo's assault on the platforms. The attack on the orbital weapons was swift and decisive. Coalition defenders were demoralized by their admiral's defeat, and many simply surrendered when the boarding teams arrived. "Platform 7 is secure," Gunwoo reported. "Main power coupling destroyed. This one won't be threatening anyone." One by one, the platforms fell silent. Earth was safe. "This is Admiral Kyung-ho to all Liberation Forces," came the announcement everyone had been waiting for. "Earth is liberated! Repeat, Earth is liberated!" Cheers echoed across the communication channels. On the surface, millions of people emerged from hiding to see their blue sky free of Coalition ships. "Sir," Yujin called from the medical bay, "Admiral Vorthkes is waking up." "How is he?" "Bruised, but alive." "What should we do with him?" Hyunwoo considered this. "Put him in protective custody. The galaxy will want to put him on trial." "What charges?" "War crimes, genocide, slavery, and about 1,000 other things. Let the lawyers figure out the details." As the Liberation Fleet moved into Earth orbit, Hyunwoo felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had done it. After 50 years of exile and war, humanity was home. But the reckoning was just beginning. There were still Coalition forces scattered across the galaxy and millions of people who needed justice for 50 years of oppression. "Sir," Seojun said, "I'm receiving surrender offers from Coalition commanders in 43 systems. They want to negotiate terms." "Tell them the terms are simple. Unconditional surrender, full cooperation with war crimes investigations, and reparations for their victims." "And if they refuse?" "Then we'll come for them next." The war was ending, but the work of rebuilding would take years. Fortunately, humanity had learned to be patient. Earth was free, and that was just the beginning. 6 months after the liberation of Earth, Hyunwoo stood in the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. Through the windows, he could see construction crews working to repair the damage from 50 years of occupation. The brown scars on the land were slowly turning green again. "The Galactic Republic Council will come to order," announced Sung Ho, the former resistance coordinator who now served as Secretary General. Representatives from 47 different species filled the assembly hall. It was nothing like the old Coalition Council, where only the strongest species had voices. Here, every species had equal representation, from the mighty Moral with their ocean cities to the tiny Pip who lived in asteroid colonies. First item of business, Sung Ho continued, the final report on Coalition war crimes investigations. A young stepped to the podium. As the fleet's historian, she had spent months documenting the evidence of Coalition atrocities. Her report was thorough and devastating. In 50 years of Coalition rule, she began, we have documented the complete destruction of 63 species, enslavement of 212 others, forced labor camps on 437 worlds. The total death count exceeds 15 billion beings. The hall was silent. Even after all they had seen, the scope of Coalition evil was shocking. What happened to the Coalition leadership? Asked the representative from the Delth species. Admiral, Vorth Kess and 17 other senior commanders have been sentenced to life imprisonment. Hive Mind Keth Prime died in custody before trial. The rest are serving sentences ranging from 10 years to life, depending on their level of involvement. And the ordinary Coalition personnel? Most have been released after serving 2 years in rehabilitation programs. We found that the majority were just following orders they believed were legal. Hyunwoo appreciated that approach. Revenge would have been satisfying, but justice was more important than satisfaction. Next item, Sung Ho announced, the status of reconstruction efforts. Changmin stood to give his report. As head of the Galactic Reconstruction Authority, he coordinated rebuilding efforts across dozens of systems. Reconstruction is proceeding ahead of schedule, he said. Former Coalition worlds are being returned to their original inhabitants. Refugee populations are being resettled. Industrial capacity is being converted from military production to civilian goods. What about the former Coalition military ships? Asked a representative. Most have been scrapped or converted to civilian use. However, some have been retained for the new Galactic Defense Force. The Defense Force was different from anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of conquest, its mission was protection. Instead of forced recruitment, it was entirely voluntary. And instead of serving one species or empire, it served everyone. Admiral Hyunwoo will now brief us on current security situation, Sung Ho announced. Hyunwoo moved to the podium, still wearing the uniform of the Iron Phoenix. He had been offered fancier clothes and offices, but he preferred to keep things simple. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries, he began. Former Coalition military units have either disbanded or joined the Defense Force. Piracy has decreased by 90%. Most importantly, there have been no major conflicts between species in the 6 months since liberation. What about the reports of Coalition holdouts in the Outer Rim? Asked the moral representative. There are still some isolated groups who refuse to accept the new order, but they're small, poorly equipped, and losing support every day. Most are surrendering voluntarily once they realize they're not going to be executed. And the defense. Force itself. Currently operating 147 ships with crews from 23 different species. Our mission is simple. Protect the innocent, stop aggression, and maintain the peace. It was very different from the old Coalition military, which had existed primarily to maintain control. The Defense Force only intervened when specifically requested by threatened populations. Sir, Na-Yun spoke from the audience. What about exploration and contact with unknown species? That's actually our next major initiative. We've identified dozens of star systems that may contain intelligent life. First contact protocols are being developed to ensure that we approach them as friends, not conquerors. The galaxy had learned hard lessons about the importance of first contact. The Coalition had typically met new species with demands for submission. The Republic would try a different approach. Now, Sung Ho said, we come to a special presentation. The lights dimmed and a hologram appeared showing the Iron Phoenix in space. The old warship looked smaller than Hyun-woo remembered, scarred by 50 years of combat but still proud. The Iron Phoenix has served for 73 years, Sung Ho announced. She fought in the first war against Coalition expansion. She carried the last free humans into exile. She led the liberation of dozens of worlds. Now her crew has requested permission to undertake one final mission. Hyun-woo smiled. His crew had been planning this for weeks. The ship and her crew want to explore the unknown regions beyond the galactic rim, he explained. There are rumors of distress signals from distant systems, reports of refugees fleeing some unknown threat. If there are people out there who need help, we want to find them. Is this wise? Asked the Reth representative. Your ship and crew are symbols of the liberation. Should you not remain here to help consolidate the peace? The peace doesn't need symbols, Hyun-woo replied. It needs people willing to work for it. And the best way to honor what we've built here is to carry it to others who need it. The vote was unanimous. The Iron Phoenix and her crew were authorized to explore beyond known space, with full support from the Republic. A week later, Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his ship as they prepared to depart. Earth hung in the view screen, blue and beautiful, and free. Final systems check, Ji-hai reported from her station. She was still his second in command, still the steady presence that kept the ship running. Navigation ready, Jae-ho announced. Engines at full power, So-young called out. After all these years, she still knew every bolt and circuit on the ship. Communications online, Woo-jin reported. We're receiving farewell messages from across the galaxy. Du-yun looked up from his tactical station. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting something interesting in the outer rim. Energy signatures that don't match any known technology. Coalition remnants? Negative. This is something else. Something new. Hyun-woo felt the familiar excitement of heading into the unknown. After 50 years of war, the prospect of discovery was refreshing. All stations report ready for departure, Ji-hai announced. Signal from Freedom Station, Woo-jin said. Hae-won wants to speak with you. The face of the resistance leader appeared on screen. She looked older now, bearing the weight of rebuilding a civilization, but her eyes still held the same determination. Take care of yourself out there, she said. The galaxy still needs the Iron Phoenix. The galaxy has something better now, Hyun-woo replied. It has hope. Fair travels, old friend. As the transmission ended, Hyun-woo looked around his bridge. These people had been his family for decades. They had shared danger, loss, and finally victory. Now they were ready to share whatever came next. All hands, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's communication system. Today we begin a new chapter. For 50 years we fought to free the galaxy from tyranny. Now we go to find others who might need that same freedom. Sir, Woo-jin called from the medical bay, what do we do if we find another coalition out there? Then we remind them what happens to empires that forget that freedom is not negotiable. Gun-woo's voice came over the radio from the fighter bay. Sir, my boarding teams are ready for whatever we find. Let's hope we find friends instead of enemies, Hyun-woo said. But if we find enemies, we'll deal with them. Chang Min spoke from the engineering section. Sir, the ship is performing better than she has in years. All those upgrades during the reconstruction period really paid off. The Iron Phoenix was indeed in better condition than she had been since the early days of the war. New armor, upgraded weapons, improved engines, and better life support systems. She was ready for whatever the unknown regions might hold. Kyung-ho to Phoenix, came a transmission from the orbital command station. You are cleared for departure. May you find good hunting out there. Thank you, Control. Tell the galaxy we'll be back when the job is done. What job is that, sir? Hyun-woo smiled. Whatever job needs doing. The Iron Phoenix turned away from Earth and accelerated toward the edge of known space. Behind them, the lights of a free galaxy glittered in the darkness. Ahead lay the infinite unknown. Sir, Yeon-soo reported from the intelligence station, I'm picking up what might be a distress signal, very faint, coming from beyond the galactic rim. Can you make out any details? Not much, but it's definitely artificial. Someone out there is calling for help. Then someone out there is going to get it. Set course for the signal source. Aye, sir. Estimated travel time to the rim is 14 days. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Hyun-woo reflected on how far they had come. 50 years ago, they had been refugees fleeing the destruction of their world. Now they were explorers, carrying the banner of freedom to unknown stars. Sir, a young said from her station, I've been thinking about what we should call this mission.